Okay, now we got it. They came on, they said this means being recorded. So are you done talking, Glenn? Okay.
I'm done.
Okay. My name's John Allred, and I am an alcoholic. And I am tickled to be here. It's good to see Glenn and Carol and some of the people I know. That's the great thing about Zoom is you get to see people you don't normally see in your own area unless you travel a lot. So I'm glad to be here. And congratulations to everybody celebrating days, from 100, 200, 300. And we got a guy coming up on a year in 5 days. Reminded me when at those marks, when you got 3 months or 6 months coming up on a year, reminds me of the guy, because sometimes it just gets boring, And I remember a young guy, about 6 months sober, and he's complaining to his sponsor. He says, "Man, there's got to be more to life. I mean, I get up, I go to work, come home, go to a meeting, come home, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, go to a meeting, go to bed." He says, "It's just got to be more to life than just getting up, going to work, going to a meeting, going home, going to bed." And the sponsor said, "Well, do you feel like you're bored?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I thought AA is supposed to let us fit back into society. I just feel kind of bored." And the sponsor said, "Well, do you know why you're bored?" He says, "Why?" He says, "Because you're boring." That's one of those things you lock in your brain and think, wait till I sponsor somebody. I'm going to use that line on them. I'm going to drop that line on them. So about 5 years later, the guy's doing really well. He's got him a good job. He's married, got his little Al-Anon wife at home. She's running around. And he's at home one night, and they're watching TV, and she gets up. She goes into the kitchen. Comes back, sits down, gets up, goes back into the kitchen, gets up, comes down, goes in the bedroom. He says, "Honey, what's wrong with you? Getting up? What's wrong with you?" She says, "I don't know." She says, "I guess I'm just bored." It clicks in her memory. He says, "Well, honey, do you know why you're bored?" And she said, "Yeah, it's because you're boring." That's pretty true. Sometimes in sobriety, you just can't get over on those Al-Anon. So that's the great thing about meetings. Each meeting. Here's the deal. A lot of times you'll hear things where meeting makers make it. I don't know whether that's true or not. That may be true. It may not be true. It's one of those things that you hear enough times that pretty soon you believe it's true. I've sponsored a guy from Oklahoma. He moved down to Dallas, so I'm sponsoring him in Dallas, and he was having a hard time staying sober. I knew his whole family really well. His mom was a big Al-Anon speaker. She's 91 now. She no longer speaks. But as June C. And I knew him all, the whole family really well. And I'm sponsoring Mike. And I took Mike with me one weekend. It was Friday night. And I took him up to Denton. Spoke in Denton, came back. We stopped, got a bite to eat, and dropped him off about 10:30. The next morning, his sister calls me 7 a.m. Calls me Saturday morning, 7 a.m. She says, "I want you to tell Mike I've sold my couch." I said, "Okay. Why am I telling Mike you sold your couch?" She says, "Because every time he gets drunk, he comes up here and sleeps on my couch. I've sold it. He can't sleep on my couch." I said, "Well, Mike's not drunk." She said, "Oh, yeah, he got drunk last night." I said, "No, he didn't." She said, "I know he was with you. You went up to Denton and you spoke, stopped, got a bite to eat, dropped him off at 10:30. He went right to the liquor store and got drunk." I thought, well, that was a hell of a talk I gave that night, I got drunk the same night. So I don't know whether meeting may. So there's got to be something more to that. And the other thing you'll hear a lot is, you'll hear, "There but for the grace of God go I." And that may be true, and it may not be true. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I don't think it's true. Because if it's true and I'm sober by the grace of God only, then that means I got grace and that drunk still in the gutter didn't get grace. So God loves me more than him. Why did I get grace and he didn't? So there's got to be something more than just grace, And I think it comes down to if you really look at in any business operation, there are always two events. Or two properties. There's events, which alcoholics love events, and there's the process. No matter what business you're in, there's events and there's process. And we love events. Alcoholics love events. We love birthday parties. We love anniversaries. We love celebrations. We love events. You know when it's going to start. You know when it's over. You go home. It's great. We get dressed up for the event. Not real big on the process, just not real big on the process. Because you never know where you are in the process. You know where you are on the event. It starts at 10 or starts at 7. You go there at 7, ends at 10. You go home, But you don't know where you are in the process. And it gets kind of boring. This process thing is just kind of a boring deal, You never know where you really are. And I think that's the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. See, the events are the meetings. And the process are the steps. And you got to have both to make it work. You can't just have one or the other. You got to have both. It's like love and sex. Sex is the event. We love the event, don't we? We love the event. You get ready for it. You get excited about it. Love is the process. Not real big on the process. You got to build trust. You got to build respect. And you got to build sacrifice and all that kind of stuff goes into building a relationship. That's a little tough. But we get those two mixed up. We think because we had sex, we must be in love. And we know that's not true. And I think that's much like saying, because I've been to a meeting, I'm sober. See? It doesn't work. You got to have both. If your relationship is just built on sex, it's doomed for failure. It's going to burn out. On the other hand, if it's just built on building that relationship, that's also doomed. So you got to have a mixture of both. I think you have to have a mixture of both the event and the process in AA. If you're only doing meetings, that's all you're doing is meetings, you're doomed for failure. Because at some point in time, you're going to run out. And that's why you'll hear people say, I'm not going. I'm tired of that meeting. You go there, they call them the same people every time to share. They say the same damn thing. I can tell you what they're going to say before they even open their mouth, because they say the same thing every time. And so you get real critical of the meeting. Pretty soon you're out the door. On the other hand, if all you're doing is the steps, and you're just talking to your sponsor, and you're working the steps, and you're not doing any event, which is 12-step work, going to meetings and 12-step work, you're doomed for failure. So you have to have a mixture of both of those, if you're going to have any kind of success. And that's why it's kind of nice with Zoom, because you can always grab a meeting. If you're so jammed, you can't drive down to the meeting. You can grab a Zoom meeting, and there's a lot of them around on that. So I'm tickled to be in Zoom, and this is an event. And so we'll try to make it as eventful as we can and make it as exciting as we can. In telling my story, I'm sober by the grace of God since October 7th, 1981. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And I got sober in Reno, Nevada. But I didn't start in Reno, Nevada. None of us started where we ended up. I find that's just fascinating. We never end up where we started. We never start where we end up. And I grew up in a very normal, healthy environment. Very middle-income America type stuff. Nobody drank in my family. I didn't drink. Growing up, I just went to high school, got involved in athletics, never drank in high school. Went to college, never drank in college. Got married my senior year in college, went in the insurance business in Salt Lake City. Things were going pretty good, never drank, But I was scared. I don't know what I was afraid of, but I'd go to work in the morning and I'd be afraid. I'd be afraid to go to work. I'd get in there, secretary come up and give me these little pink notes. I'd say, what are these? What are these? She said, those are your phone messages. I said, who from? She said, I don't know. I said, what do you think they want? She said, I guess they want to buy insurance. I think from me, it just didn't make any sense. I was just scared. And don't know what I was afraid of, but I was afraid. If I ran into a buddy named Stuart, Stuart drank, and I started hanging out with Stuart. We'd go to the bar. He was a bar drinker. And I loved the bar. And I'd go down to Stuart in the bar, and I wouldn't drink. I'd drink Coca-Cola. Never drank. Drink Coke. And I love the bar. Love everything about the bar. And I like all kinds of bars, And I'd go down to the bar with Stuart, and we'd get some women over to the table. We're talking to these women. They'd say, what do you do, John? I like to do a lot of stuff. Sometimes I'd retire. They say, what do you do? I've retired. 24-year-old retiree. Say, oh, you must have made a lot of money. Oh, yeah, I sure did. That's why I drive a Toyota. Sometimes I dance. They say, what do you do, John? I actually dance on Broadway. And if you tell that lie, you can't dance the rest of the night. They always say, let's go dance. No, I'm sorry. Nope. That's work for me. I'm on vacation. I'm not dancing. They pay me to dance. I'm not dancing at all. By the way, I'm doing all that sober. See, it never was good enough for me to be John Allred, insurance agent, even sober. I had to be John Allred, somebody else. It didn't matter what that something else was, as long as it was something other than what I really was. I was always playing this pretend game, you know. And finally, when my second child was born, Stuart called me up and congratulated me. He said, we're going out drinking tonight. So I had my first drunk. I said, I'll drink. I'll get drunk tonight. So I had my first drunk. And it was a great drunk. We got to a private club. In Utah, you had to be a member of a private club doing drinking. So we got to this private club. It's called the Winery, right across from Salt Palace. You walked in the winery, lights flashing, live band, women, and I had a great drunk. Just a great drunk, you know. And I don't know what I drank. A lot of people know what their first drink was. I don't know what mine. They buy me a drink. They're buying, so I'm drinking. They buy me a drink. It's dark colored drink. Got a cherry in it. I just drink it down. Next person buys me a drink. It's a light colored drink. Got a twist around it. I just drink it down. Whatever they buy, I'm drinking. And I had a great drunk. Danced. I did dance that night. I found out a couple of drinks. I can dance. Very good dancer. And danced with two lesbians that night. Okay, well, they were out there dancing together, you know, and I thought, they probably want me to join them. So they're not, and then they left together, and there I was alone. I learned something, no rejection. You're just drunk. And so I got up the next morning, called up Stuart, and I said, Stuart, I had a ball last night. He said, yeah, you had a good, you tore it up. I said, you going to go have a drink tonight? He said, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. I'll probably stop and have one. I said, what time? He said, well, John, I got to work till 3 o'clock. Can't get off work till 3. I said, let's meet at 3:30. Man, at 3:30, got drunk again. See, that's what I do. I get drunk. I drink to get drunk. I don't drink socially. I drink to get drunk. If I can't get drunk, it's not even worth bothering about it, you know. I like to get drunk. And in fact, 3 weeks after that first drunk, I remember pulling up from a liquor store at 10 in the morning because they open at 10. And I'd go in there and I'd buy 3 little mini bottles of vodka, like those little mini bottles you get on the airplane. I'd buy 3 of those because they told me you can't smell vodka. And I'd drink those down and then I'd be okay to go to work. And my life's changing immediately. I'm getting in all kinds of trouble. And I never drank socially. I like to drink to get drunk. And the mothers were getting really mad about drunk drivers. They were organizing. They published a lot of articles in the newspaper about drunk drivers. And I read this one article in the newspaper, and it said only 1 in 2,000 drunk drivers gets picked up for DWI. 1 in 2,000. I read that and I thought, man, that's pretty good odds. I can get drunk every single night for like 6 years before I got to worry about a DWI. I've been drinking 6 months to get my first DWI. Man, what are the odds of that? You know? But I'm positive. I thought, okay, I got like 10 years for my next DWI, so I'll be all right. You know? And just I like to get drunk. That's what I do. And people started to tell me, slow down. Pace yourself. I don't know how to pace myself. It's ridiculous. How do you pace yourself? I don't understand how to pace yourself. And then pretty soon they started telling me, you're an alcoholic. This was my first, I've been drinking a year and they're calling me an alcoholic. And I said, well, what's an alcoholic? How do you really know you're alcoholic? What is an alcoholic? What is that? They said, it's a disease. Okay, fine. Let's go to the doctor and find out what about this disease. Well, we really can't do that. We got a disease we can't go to the doctor about. No, we can't have it diagnosed. We can't go get some blood analysis. No. Well, how do you know you're alcoholic then? So we can't go get a CAT scan, MRI, find out about this disease? No, we can't. Well, how do you know you're alcoholic? Oh, yeah, here's the deal. Y'all want me to quit drinking. What happens 20 years from now, I find out I'm not alcoholic. I've blown 20 years I could have been drinking. Not going to take that kind of risk. Not taking that kind of risk, you know. They say, well, you drink too much. As soon as they told me I drank too much, I know I'm not an alcoholic. Because I never drank too much in my life. You know? In fact, I'll tell you, there's not an alcoholic on this Zoom meeting today that ever drank too much. It's impossible for the alcoholic to drink too much. You can't do it if you're alcoholic. You know? See, normal drinkers, I'm an alcoholic, not because I drank too much. I'm an alcoholic because I couldn't drink enough. See, normal drinkers can drink enough. So occasionally, but not very often, they might drink too much. But if you're an alcoholic, like I'm an alcoholic, and you can't drink enough, it's impossible to drink too much. It won't happen. So they told me, I drink too much. I know I'm not alcoholic. Because when I drink, it's amazing what happens. When I drink, I am happy, joyous, and free. And you want me to quit? Why would you quit? No, you're not going to quit. Let me tell you what happens when I quit. I'm driven by 100 forms of fear. And I'm restless, irritable, and discontent when I'm sober. But when I'm drinking, I'm okay. And you want me to quit? Hell, you're not going to quit. In fact, when I first came into AA, I'll tell you, when I first came into AA, they read me the promises in the big book. You know, those promises come out of in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. They read me those promises as motivation to get me to come back. I read those promises, and I was never so disappointed in my life. And I couldn't believe it. You know, I thought what you promised me my job back, promised me my wife back, my house back, my bank account back, my car back, my credit back. Those are promises I thought would really do the trick, motivate me to come back. You didn't give me those promises. I couldn't believe it. Now, here's the reality. I've always wanted those promises. I insist on getting those promises. I will do anything to get those promises. Anything. I didn't know that then. But I'll do anything to get them, including drink. Alcohol gave me those promises. You can go through the big book. Through every one of those 12 promises in the big book. I don't know about you, but after that very first drink, I began to know a new freedom and a new happiness. And after 2 or 3 drinks, I don't know about you, but that fear of financial insecurity just kind of slips away. I don't need money. I got checks, After 4 or 5, 6 drinks, I don't know about you, but I intuitively know how to handle situations that are baffling me. And I don't know about you, after 8 or 9 drinks, I actually begin to comprehend the meaning of serenity. And you want me to quit. And after a dozen drinks or so, it becomes real clear alcohol is doing for me what I can't do for myself. So you can go through every one of those 12 promises in the big book, and that's what alcohol did for you. So here's the reality of the situation. I didn't know any of that then, but here's the reality. If I'm going to get sober, I'm going to have a recovery program that's going to give me those promises without drinking, or I'm going to go drink to get them. It's that important that I have those promises. And they don't come till after step 9. Because the only program I know that gives you those promises without drinking is the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the only one out there that gives you those promises without drinking. And you go through every one of those promises, and I'll tell you that's what alcohol did for you. I didn't know that then. All I know is that alcohol makes me feel okay. But I'm going to have a program to give you those promises without drinking. I'll go drink to get them. And the only program, which means you got to work the steps, because they don't come till after step 9. So you got to work the steps. Now, you can jack around with that all you want to jack around with that. You can go to all the AA meetings you want to go to. You can talk to your sponsor all you want to talk to. You can go pray to God all you want to pray to God. But the clock is ticking. If you're not working the steps, the clock is ticking, because the time's going to come when you need those promises and you will go drink to get them. I can promise you that. You'll drink to get those promises. I didn't know any of that then. All I know is that I ain't going to quit. I'm not quitting. I'm not quitting. Now, I got problems, but alcohol's not one of them. And I found my brother told me, he said, you better straight up and fly right, because if folks think you're crazy, they're going to lock you up. They're going to commit you, John. They got the judge ready to sign the commitment papers. They're going to sign the commitment papers. They're going to commit you because they think you're crazy. You got to straight up and fly right. And that's when I figured out my biggest problem. Utah was at a high altitude. It's up in the mountains. Scientific fact. People who live at high altitudes for prolonged periods of time actually have thinner blood than people who live at low altitudes. Scientific fact. I've been living in Utah my whole life. I got to have thin blood. You party hard on thin blood, you have a problem. What I need to do is get to sea level. Utah's up in the mountains. I got a thin blood problem here. I need to get to sea level, thicken up my blood, and I'll be okay. You party hard on thin blood, you have a problem. So I got to thicken up my blood. So I called a buddy of mine in Seattle at sea level. I was talking about these problems I got. He said, why don't you take some time off, come up here and stay with me and Gail? I said, I don't impose on you guys. No imposition. So I'll be there Tuesday. So I moved to Seattle. Wasn't doing anything in Seattle, just doing a little drinking, working on thickening up my blood. And the next logical thing you want to do, y'all know this, I don't need to tell you this. The next logical thing you want to do when you're in that kind of condition, you're going to want to gamble. Best time to gamble is when you're unemployed. And so I started playing poker. It was legal up there. And started running down to Nevada, playing in casinos in Nevada. That's where the real action is. And I thought, who am I kidding? I'm just going to move to Nevada. That's lower than sea level. You get sick blood in Nevada. So I went down to Nevada, started working on thickening up my blood. And wasn't doing anything, just bounced around Las Vegas, ended up in Reno, Tahoe. Wasn't doing anything, just doing a little drinking, working on thickening up my blood, playing a little poker. And a buddy of mine called me. I'm living in Reno, Nevada at the time. He called me, invited me to a birthday party back in Salt Lake. Shouldn't have gone, doing real good in Reno. But I go over to Reno, go from Reno to Salt Lake to this birthday party. Got there Friday night, went out Friday night to celebrate. Met a girl, fell in love, wanted to take her out Saturday. She couldn't go out Saturday or Sunday. Had to stay till Monday to take her out. I was supposed to go home Sunday. Should have gone home Sunday. Stayed till Monday. Big mistake. So I go out Monday, take this gal out Monday. That was a bad deal. You know you got a bad deal when you invite them to go to dinner and then they really want to eat. So she's eating and I'm drinking. But I'm a gentleman, so every time I order me a whiskey, I order her a glass of wine. Well, the woman ain't keeping up. She's busy eating. The wine's stacking up on her. Now, to keep from being embarrassed, I drink my whiskey, drink her wine. It was just a bad deal. She was mad at me. She said, take me home. I want to take her home. No fun at all that night. Dropped her off. It was 10 o'clock. That Monday was October 6th, 1981. So I was staying at Price's house. Knocked on his door. He opened the door at 10 o'clock. He said, what? I thought you had a date. I said, that damn woman. Went in there. I bought a gallon of wine because she said she liked wine, so I bought a gallon. I went in there and drank that wine all night, Monday night. I said, now tomorrow, Tuesday, October 7th, 1981, hit the town one more time, then I'm out here. This how to drink will get me in trouble. So we got Tuesday, October 7th, 1981. I remember the fast show. We went to the fast show at the Hilton. I remember the fast show, and then I blacked out a lot. Somebody said, you black out every time you drank. How do you know? I don't know if black, There's some blackouts real scary, some aren't too bad. There are two factors that determine how scary a blackout is. First factor is how long you blacked out. The longer you blacked out, the more scary they are. Second factor is, and this adds to the scary factor a lot, what are you doing when you come out of your blackout? And I wasn't blacked out that long, but I came out of my blackout at the worst time to come out of a blackout. Without a doubt, the worst possible time to come out of a blackout is when you're talking to the cops, and because you can't, you don't know, you can't ask any questions. You come out of your blackout, you can't say, what are we doing here? You don't know why they stopped you. You don't know what you've told them. You don't know what they've accused you of. You got to figure all that out without asking any questions. Bad time coming out of a blackout because you can't say, what are we doing here? You can't say that. You got to figure it out. And I finally figured out they wanted my driver's license. I didn't have a driver's license. They took that 3 DWIs earlier. But I told the cop, it's over there. That's where I changed my clothes. It's in my pants over there. I'll bring it to you in the morning. They would not let me go get it. So the next thing I know, they arrested me. Ran my name, found out who I was, arrested me, and I'm in lockup. And this time they're mad. I can't get out. Don't like lockup. Don't like nothing about lockup. Can't even bond out. Because, see, I knew the system. No matter what they arrest you for, you plead not guilty, right? Not guilty. No matter what they arrest you for, you're not guilty. And then you go to the OR. Back in the 70s and early 80s, a DWI in Salt Lake City was $250 fine. That was it. Misdemeanor, $250 fine. And the attorney would cost you $250 to get it fixed, and you'd be all right. And so you plead not guilty, get out on your own recognizance. Never posted a bond. I think the biggest bond I ever posted was like $50. And then you get an attorney, and you start that postponing process, right? You postpone. And then finally when the lawyer says, okay, no more postponing. Tomorrow we go to court. Be there 10 a.m. You want to be sure on the day before court, move. When I never went to court, I just moved. So I had all these failure to appear. I didn't know that was a charge. They charge you with failure to appear. You didn't appear for court. Couldn't believe it. I said, that's against the law. Yeah, you got to appear to court. So I had all these failure to appear. And they said, no, we're not letting you out. You got all this failure to appear. You don't come back. So you're staying in jail. So I can't get out, want to get out, can't get out. Finally, a buddy of mine named Stan come down to see me. Stan's not AA, didn't know anything about alcoholism, but had a lot of money. I knew Stan very well, a good friend of mine. And he knew some people, and so he said, I've talked to some friends. They'll release you into my custody. But the only way I'll take that is if you promise me you go to treatment, because, John, you're sick. You need help. I said, oh, Stan, bless you. You are so right. I don't know what it is. I go down there and I get in all kinds of trouble. I get drunk, and I think I may have a little bit of alcoholism in me, and I need help, Stan, but I can't get any help in here. He says, I'll get you out. I had no intention of not drinking. I wasn't going to quit. Didn't want to quit. I'm just getting out of jail. And I'll do anything to get out of jail. The next day, I stayed with Stan that night. Next day, he throws me the yellow pages. Says, you got to where you got to go to treatment. You got to go to treatment. So I'm looking at the yellow pages. A lot of treatment centers in early 80s. I called this one treatment center, and I said, I need to come in for a little treatment. Now, I had no intention of not drinking. I wasn't going to quit. I'm not going to quit. I'm just getting out of jail. And I'll do anything to get out of jail. So I called the treatment center, and I said, I need to come in for a little treatment. The gal said, do you have any insurance? I said, no. I hadn't worked for 3.5 years. I don't have any insurance. She said, well, this is 1981. She says, it's $12,000. $12,000. I said, oh, hell, I don't want to stay all year. I'm not that sick. She said, I just need a little treatment. That was a little treatment. I couldn't believe it. $12,000. I was very frustrated. I called this one place. They wanted $18,000. I was so frustrated. I said, honey, listen, if I had $18,000, I wouldn't need your damn treatment. That'd have solved any problem I got. Couldn't believe it. I finally called this one place. I said, I need to come in for a little treatment. She was okay. And I said, well, you know, I don't have any insurance. She was okay. And I said, well, how much is it? She says, well, when you check in here, you get room, board, and therapy. We have two kinds of therapy. We have individual therapy and group therapy. You get both of them. And it's $9 a day. And then if you do some chores around here, we assign to you, we'll even pay you $1.50 a day, which you can buy cigarettes. Cigarettes were $1.25 a pack back in 81. Couldn't believe it. Or you could apply the $1.50 to the bill and take it down to about $7. I couldn't believe it. I said, how long's your waiting list? So those other places want 12, 18,000. They had 30 to 60-day waiting list just to get in. How long is your waiting list? She said, well, we have a bed for you tonight. I don't need to come tonight. She says, I think you need to come tonight. And I got a problem with this place. Think about it. They got bargain rates, $9 a day, room, board, and therapy. They can't fill their bed. Now she's high pressure me to get me to come in down there. I'm the consumer here. I got my rights. I said, listen, you make a reservation for Saturday, just forget the whole damn deal. So she made it for Saturday. Didn't drink. Stayed with Stan. Saturday came and drove down there, parked in the parking lot of the treatment center, sat there all morning watching them go in and out of there, in and out of there. Wanted to see what kind of person, would go to a $9 a day jitter joint. Those guys going there looked like they needed to go there. They look like alcoholics. No one of the guys going there. Look at that guy. He's an alcoholic. You can tell, look at him. He's alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic, but it fit my budget, so I checked in. Nothing happened. Just saw a whole bunch of papers on Saturday. Sunday, I had my first exposure to Alcoholics Anonymous. Two guys from outside came in, chaired the meeting. 36 of us, all men, sat around round tables in the lunchroom. And these two guys talked for a while. I didn't listen to a thing they said. I didn't care what they were going to say. I'm watching everybody else. I'm a real chameleon. I go someplace, I get real quiet, watch what everybody else does, how they act, who's got the money, who's the crazy guy I got to avoid, who's the mean guy. Figure out who everybody is, where I'm going to fit in this group. So these two guys got through talking. I started down the road as a discussion meeting. First guy introduced himself, said, my name's Joe B. I'm alcoholic, I'll pass. Second guy said, my name is Jim S. I'm alcoholic, I'll pass. It got to me, I thought that must be the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. First name, last name. I caught on real quick. You get first name, last initial, admit you're an alcoholic, and then pass. That must be the deal. They had it written on the wall, admitted you're powerless over alcohol. So it got to me. I did it right. I said, my name is John A. I'm an alcoholic. I'll pass. Nothing happened. Not a damn thing happened. I thought, well, obviously Alcoholics Anonymous must be for real simple-minded people. Nobody with any brains, any sense of what they're doing. Now, as distorted perception that is of Alcoholics Anonymous, that was my perception of AA. It ain't for me. And I'm not an alcoholic anyway. That was on Sunday. Monday got me my counselor, Dale, lovely lady. Spent an hour with Dale in my first council meeting. She wanted me to stay 2 months. I said, Dale. Dale, I've been here all weekend. Okay. But talking to these guys, they told me they're alcoholics. I believe them. They look like they probably are alcoholics. I believe them they are. I don't know whether I'm an alcoholic or not. I may have a little bit of alcoholism in me, but I can't stay 2 months. You want me to stay 2 months? No. I'm too busy. She said, you're busy? I said, yes, I'm too busy. She looks through her papers, looks up at me and says, where were you working? So, Dale, I'm not working, but I'm busy. You know, isn't that true about alcoholics? Alcoholics are the most busy, unemployed people you want to meet in your life, right? But I don't want to. See, I'm not going to quit drinking. So I tell Dale, and I don't tell anybody that. I tell her, listen, I'll give you 2 weeks. Because I'm not going to quit. I'm just doing treatment time. I figure treatment time is better than jail time. So I'll give you 2 weeks. And you can give me whatever material you're going to study in that 2-month period. I'll read ahead. You can give me some pop quizzes if you want, because I'm out of here. We'll do a crash course on alcoholism. And I'll get out of here because I'm not quitting drinking. I don't tell them that. That's my plan. So she listened to all that BS. Fine. I said, better hurry with you. That damn right. That was on Monday. Tuesday, I got to go to group therapy. Wednesday's alcoholic education seminar. I'm sitting there. Don't like movies about, they're showing a movie about drug addiction and alcoholism. I don't like movies about, I'd seen Days of Wine and Roses back then. That was the big movie. You know, it's boring. I didn't even watch them today. I'm sitting there, all my ego, all my pride, all my contempt, prepared not to like the movie. The name of the movie they're showing is I'll Quit Tomorrow. So I'm sitting there watching this movie, and it tore me apart. I couldn't believe it. I related to everything in that movie. I did everything that guy did. I talked the way the guy talked. I dressed the way the guy dressed. I acted the way the guy acted. I drank the way the guy drank. I related to everything in that movie. And I knew the gig was up. That was my moment of clarity when I knew the gig was up. What happened to me that night is I quit looking for that definition. What's an alcoholic? How do you know you're alcoholic? Later found out in AA, see, we don't have a definition of an alcoholic. I couldn't define an alcoholic for you tonight. What we have in AA is a description of the alcoholic. So you can't argue with a description. You can argue with a definition. That's why Webster's got 10 definitions for every word. But you can't argue with a description. The most powerful tool God has given Alcoholics Anonymous is our description of the alcoholic. Because it's that description, as the alcoholic relates to it, that seems to have the power to literally strip everything except for the alcoholic from himself. And I could see me in that light like I'd never seen me. I could see me in that light like my ex-wife saw me. I could see me in that light like my mom saw me. The difference was I could see me as I related to that. And I knew the gig was up. The most powerful tool we have in AA is the description of the alcoholic. Think how important that description is. 2/3 of our book, 2/3 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is what? Descriptions in the stories. I mean, why'd they put all those stories in there? Just to make a big book? No, because that description that seems to have the power, as the alcoholic relates to it, to literally strip everything that separates the alcoholic from himself. And I could see me that like I'd never seen me. And I wasn't happy about it. Sometimes you'll hear people from the podium say how relieved they were to know what their problem was and how grateful they were and excited to be in AA. That was not my experience. I was scared to death. Cried all night. I mean, my whole life just changed. My God, I am an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. What am I going to do now? I got to go get like a job. You know? How am I going to function in this world that scares me to death without drinking? I cried all night. I just lost my best friend. What's going to happen? How am I going to do this? I don't think I can. I don't think I can do this. But I'm an alcoholic. I knew the gig was up. And I stayed there 6 weeks. Couldn't stay 2 months, too busy. But I stayed there 6 weeks. And when I left there, they said, you need an aftercare, John. Very important part of recovery is aftercare. Well, you can't come back here from Reno. That's 800 miles. You can't come back here 3 times a week for aftercare. So we're going to suggest you go to AA for aftercare. And they gave me intergroup's phone number. Call this number when you get back in Reno. So I drove back to Reno. I know 2 things when I drove back. I know I'm an alcoholic. I don't want to drink. I know that. I'm an alcoholic and I don't want to drink. Second thing was, I know AA's got nothing to offer. I mean, come on, man. You go there and give your first name and last initial, admit to the group you're an alcoholic, and then pass. Oh, wow. Be still my beating heart. How long are we going to do this? You know? But I don't want to drink. So the first day I'm back in town, I call AA, call that number they gave me. Guy answers the phone. I said, my name's John A. I'm an alcoholic. He said, well, I'm Bruce. John, I'm an alcoholic. And I said, well, hi, Bruce. I said, I just got a treatment over in Salt Lake City, living in Reno, Nevada, and I wanted to call and report in. I thought they had me on computer, if you want to report in, they put out a failure to appear on you and you're screwed, so you got to appear. So he said, well, I'm glad you're here. He said, you want to go to a meeting tonight? It was Thursday. You want to go to a meeting? I said, well, you probably want to meet me. He said, I'm not going to go, but there's a men's stag, Hook Riverside Casino, third floor Sierra room. Starts at 8:30. I said, I'll be there early so we can meet. He said, I'm not going to go. I said, well, call them and tell them John A's coming to their meeting. He's out. Don't worry, they'll be there. So I show up 20 after 8. First resentment, Alcoholics Anonymous. I called, made a reservation, told him I'm coming. Guy did not call him and tell him John A's coming to the meeting. Just some guys smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee, waiting for the meeting. Pretty soon, a guy named Red got chair of the meeting. Red looked like an alcoholic. Red talked for a while, didn't listen to a thing Red said. So much your bills. Who's got the money here? Who's got the power here? Who's the crazy guy? Who's the mean guy? Got to figure out who all these people are. And Red got through talking, started down the row. These guys didn't pass. They started to talk. Now, I don't know what they were talking about. Nothing we talked about in treatment. Nothing we talked about in treatment. In fact, these guys were so bad they couldn't even introduce themselves right. Some of them did not give their last initial. They said, my name's John, I'm alcoholic. You're supposed to give your last initial. AA, you're supposed to give your last initial. And the guy didn't give his last initial. Supposed to give it. Some of them gave their last name. They said, my name's John. All right, I'm alcoholic. Oh, my God. First and last name. What does he think anonymous means, man? Oh, I can look him up in the phone book. I thought, if he won't respect his anonymity, I will. I'm not going to even look at that guy. I don't know who these people are. I'm not going to look at you guys in the eye. If I see you on the street, I'm not saying hi. This is an anonymous program. Anonymous program. So it got around to me. It became real clear to me as these guys are talking. They're not talking about anything we talk about in treatment. It became clear these guys have not been to treatment. So it got to me. I thought, I can help. So I started. I qualified. I did it right. I said, my name is John A., and I'm an alcoholic. And I qualified. I said, listen, guys, I have the latest, most up-to-date medical and psychological information on the disease of second resentment. Red cut me off. Said, thank you, John. We're on the next guy. I thought, son of a bitch is jealous. I know stuff he doesn't know. That's the problem he's got right there. Just after me, some guys come up and shook my hand and said, hope you come back. Oh, I'll be back. They need me down there now. Now they need me. So I don't know where I was when they said 90 meetings in 90 days. That's not what I did. I did one meeting a week. Every Thursday, I'm at my men's stack. Now, they'll not let me share, but I keep going back. I figure I'm a lot younger than Red. Red's going to die, then I'll get to share. I'll just start living. That's what I'll do. Now, I'll tell you what happens when you go to one meeting a week. They told me in treatment. They told me this in treatment. They said, John, don't drink. If you don't drink, you'll feel better. Just don't drink, you'll feel. But they didn't explain to me what that meant. If you don't drink, you will feel better. You're going to feel everything better. You're going to feel all the pain, all the anger, all the resentments. You're going to feel that crap a whole lot better. So I'm walking around in Reno feeling better, going nuts. And sobriety is like watching paint dry. And finally, I'm going to one meeting a week. So I'm down there. It was Christmas Eve. Fell on Thursday night. So I'm down there in my men's stag meeting, not sharing. They will not let me share. I'm going to my one meeting a week. And they said, now tomorrow's Christmas Day. You got nowhere to go Christmas. You can go to the Briar's house. Christmas dinner. It's a Skid Row Clubhouse on Wells Street. Still there in Reno. I had nowhere to go Christmas, so I go to the Dryers Club. Found it. Ate. It was good. Afternoon, I'm not bothering anybody. I'm sitting there. I'm not bothering anybody. I'm drinking a cup of coffee, smoking a cigarette, just minding my own business. Old timers spotted me. You can tell when they spot you. Their eyes glaze over. I swear they do. They start to salivate. And the guy came over and I thought, come on, don't. It's not my kind of guy. He's an old guy. He's a fat old guy. Big nose, funny hair. Nothing cool. I like cool guys. This guy is not cool. Comes over to see me. And talking. His name was Don. Tells me the coordinator of intergroup. I don't know what that is, but I'm glad they found something for you to do. So I'm talking to Don. And it became clear after just a few minutes, Don had not been to treatment. So I started telling Don about all the stuff they'll not let me talk about in my home group. He gets a funny look on his face, and he says, you want to go to a meeting with me tonight? And that short time I'd been going to AA, I'd heard AA is a spiritual program. I heard that. It's a spiritual program. It's Christmas Day. I can go twice this week. It won't hurt. So Don comes by, gets me. We've got the state hospital on Friday night. They have a meeting at 7 o'clock out there. Got the state hospital. You walk in. They give you a raffle ticket at that meeting. And at the end of the meeting, they raffle off the big book, or as Bill sees it. Give me a raffle ticket. Walk in. Women in the meeting. First meeting I've been to with women in the meeting. It was great. I thought, why am I going Thursday to men's stag when I come here Friday with the women? This is my new home group, baby. I'll be back here next Friday. No more Thursday night meeting for me. I'll come back here Friday. So I don't really talk about in that meeting because I'm busy praying. Because although I have a great mind to read real fast, I forgot to get a big book. But this is it, man. This is going to be God's gift to me on Christmas. It's Christmas Day. God is going to give me the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. The only Christmas gift I'm going to get this year is going to be the big book of AA from God himself. I'm winning the lottery. I'm winning the raffle. I'm going to win the raffle. I'm going to win the big book. I'm praying for my big. I want the big book. Big book's my big book. Then the meeting went and had the raffle off the big book. Third resentment, Alcoholics Anonymous. Some little gray lady, 25 years sober, wins my book. Couldn't believe it. I thought, what's she doing winning my book? So I'm leaving before I can get out of that little lady because someone gives me that big book. That's where I got my big book. And that literally was the only Christmas gift I got that year. And the next day, Don calls me, takes me to another meeting. Every day, this guy's calling me on the phone, taking me to a meeting. I don't really want to go. But he doesn't ask. He just says, I'll pick up in 20 minutes. Clicks, hang up the phone. I don't want to go. I'm going to stand him up. I went last night. What do I got to go tonight for? I'm not going to go to a meeting tonight. I went last night. And I thought, wait a minute. He's the only guy talking to me in AA. I got to go to the meeting. So I go, and so a fascinating thing happened. This is fascinating to me. Now, the only change, I didn't have a sponsor, hadn't worked any steps. The only change in my life is a meeting every single day. That's it. A fascinating thing happened. I not only start to feel better, but I start to feel good. And I hadn't felt those two things at the same time in years. And all of a sudden, sobriety started putting on flesh and bone. And I started meeting other alcoholics. I started getting excited about going to meetings. I started going down an inner group and hanging out with Don, who I don't like, during the day. Drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes, talking to Don, going to a meeting every night that night, and I'm feeling better and good, and it started to get excited. All of a sudden, sobriety started to put on flesh and bones. I started to really like these meetings, and it was embarrassing. I mean, I felt like a little kid. He'd pick me up and we're driving in the car, and I'd say, Don, do you think we can go get ice cream tonight? We'll see. But I'm going to meet every single night. So I'm down there a week later. It was Thursday night, going to my men's stag meeting Thursday night. I'm at inner group during the day, going to my men's stag meeting that night. Phone rings, inner group. I grab the phone. Young kid named Glenn. Glenn's 17 years old, and he wants to know how to stay sober New Year's Eve. I said, why? I mean, Glenn, you're 17. It's New Year's Eve. Call us tomorrow. We're a big day for us tomorrow. We'll be here at 8 o'clock in the morning. You can call us tomorrow morning. Don grabs that phone away from me. That's when he passed the rule at central office. He had to have 6 months or more sobriety to answer the phone at inner group. So Don talks to him for a while. I don't know what he said. Gave him his phone. We're not giving my phone number. The next day, Don calls me and says, hey, Glenn stayed sober last night. Wants to go to a meeting today. I thought, great. The first 12-step call. I'm going to learn how to do 12-step work. So Don comes and gets me. We go get Glenn. Take Glenn out to the state hospital. Got to the state hospital where I got my big book. Get a rat. And I'm waiting for Don to prepare Glenn for AA. He's not. He's just driving the car. Oh, hell, I got to do it all. I just got to do it all. So I started to prepare Glenn for AA. I said, Glenn, you're going to love this AA. We get there, they're going to give you a raffle ticket. Hang on that raffle ticket because then they mean raffle off the big book, and if God loves you, you'll win the big book. Don didn't say where. Don just drove the car. So we get to the meeting. We got a raffle ticket, sat down. I thought, this is it. Come on, God, let Glenn win. If Glenn can win the book, after I've talked to him about this, told him if God loves him, he'll win the book. If you can just win the book, that'll be proof that God is working in his life, and Glenn will stay sober forever. This will be wonderful. I have 100% 12-step call success rate. So I'm praying for Glenn the whole meeting. And then me went to raffle off the big book. I won the big book. Don turns to me and says, see how that works? I said, yeah. I signed it, gave it to Glenn. That's where Glenn got his big book. Glenn's sober today, by the way, because I gave him a big book. That's why he's sober. Now, that little experience early in my sobriety taught me a lot, because it taught me how God works. God works through people. See, by working through people, I could have won the big book. Whenever God works, it's a win-win situation. Always two winners when God works. I could have won the big buck the first night. There'd been one winner, me. But that little lady won by being able to share with me, and I won by being able to receive from her. 2 winners. God works through people. A week later, 2 winners. I won by sharing with Glenn, and Glenn won by being able to receive from me. God works through people. So by working through people, he gets twice the result for the same effort. Very efficient God. Really is. So what ends up happening with that little experience early in my sobriety also taught me how AA works. AA is one alcoholic sharing with another. And when that happens, there are 2 winners. The drunk doing the sharing and the drunk doing the receiving. See, I've told that story thousands of times in the 41 years I've been sober. Every time I tell that story, I remember that moment of clarity when I knew the gig was up. I remember like it happened yesterday. I'm equally convinced that all of us that are sober and Alcoholics Anonymous today have had that moment of clarity when you knew the gig was up. I'm equally convinced that those that come to AA for a while and leave out there drinking and dying tonight had that moment of clarity. What's the difference between those of us that are sober here and those of us that are out there drinking? We both had that moment of clarity. Why are we sober and they aren't? I mean, what happens in Alcoholics Anonymous is really pretty simple. What we do in here in AA is we keep that moment alive. She says, if I shared my moment with you, what it was like when it happened, remember like it happened yesterday. And what have you thought about? When I'm on that side of the podium, one of y'all is up here, and you're keeping your moment alive by sharing about what happened to you, and you're keeping your moment alive. I'm so self-centered. By the way, it's a perfect program for people whose root problem is they're selfish, self-centered. Because when you're up here remembering your moment, I'm so self-centered, what am I thinking about? My moment. We keep that moment alive. It only happens when one alcoholic shares with another. It's the only time it happens. We keep that moment alive. You can't keep the moment alive by sharing with your therapist. Your therapist doesn't need to hear it. I got to hear about your moment, or I'm going to forget about mine. We keep that moment alive when one alcoholic shares with another. It only happens when one alcoholic does that to another. You know? We keep it alive. Because what happens when you lose your moment? You take drunk. You know, you just take drunk. So we keep that moment alive. It only happens, as I said, when one alcoholic shares with another. And I'm just grateful that you let me all share about this morning about my moment of clarity when I knew the gig was up. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much.